Greatest common factor. Okay, the objective of this video is to find the greatest common factor of two or more numbers. All right, let's talk first about what we know, because we know what a factor is. Okay, a factor, as the noun, a factor is something, either a number or a letter. Whoops, looks like I misspelled the word letter. Let's correct that. A number or letter, although we are working with numbers, a number or letter that is multiplied. If you remember, 3 times 4 equals 12. Since 3 is being multiplied by 4, 3 is a factor, and since 4 is being multiplied by 3, 4 is a factor. Those are both factors of 12. Okay, so now a definition. What is the greatest common factor? Often abbreviated GCF. Well, if you just use some synonyms, it's the largest factor, greatest, the largest factor that is common to each number. So largest factor that they have in common. All right, similar to another video on least common multiple, I find that it's easiest to simply kind of list some things out and then to find the greatest common factor from there. So to find the greatest common factor, I simply list all the factors. And I like to do this using factor pairs, and I'll show you what I do. Okay, so I list all the factors of each number, and then you simply choose the largest one they have in common. Okay, so I'm just going to list them and then choose the largest one. So example 1, what is the greatest common factor of 15 and 42? Well, let's see. 15 has common factors. Okay, so here's what I like to do. I start off as a factor pair using 1 and 15, for example. And I may not have my spacing really well done, but I know that the smallest factor of 15 is 1, and the largest factor of 15 is 15. 1 times 15. There are no factors that are larger than 15 or smaller than 1. And then I work my way up 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this will come in. And when I hit a middle, I know I'm done. So I then think, okay, is 2 a factor of 15? Well, 15's not even, so 2 is not a factor. Okay, is 3 a factor of 15? Well, I know that 3 times 5, so 3 goes here, and 5 goes here. And wait a second, all I have left between 3 and 5 is 4. And 4 is not a factor of 15, so I know I've just exhausted my factors of 15, 1, 3, 5, and 15. Again, it may not look particularly nice if you want to rewrite it. Some people will use brackets. 1, 3, 5, and 15 are the factors of 15. Let's take a look at 42. Probably a bit more with 42. Again, I start off with my largest and my smallest. 1 times 42. 42 is even, so I know 2 is a factor, and I may need to use a calculator, 42 divided by 2, but I know mentally that's 21. Notice I'm getting closer. I went between 1 and 42, now I'm between 2 and 21. Is 3 a factor? Again, use a calculator, or maybe you know that if you add the digits, and the sum of the digits is divisible by 3, then the number is divisible by 3. Well, 4 plus 2 is 6. Well, 3 goes into 6. So 3 also goes into 42. And I think it goes in 14 times. Notice I'm getting closer. Now I'm between 3 and 14. Okay, let's check 4. Well, I can see because 4 times 10 is 40, and 4 times 11 is 44. 4 is not going to work. I know 5 is not going to work because 5 requires that 42 end in either a 0 or a 5. And I know my multiplication, 6 and 7, so I know 6 works, and I know 7 works, and there are no numbers between 6 and 7, so I've just, no whole numbers anyways, so I've just exhausted my factors of 42. This one came out a little nicer on spacing than the top one did, and again, if you want to write those in curly brackets, the factors of 42, and my factor pairs, a second. Just a second here. 14, 21, 42. So what I was doing was using factor pairs. 1 times 15, 3 times 5, 1 times 42, 2 times 21, 3 times 14. These are all factor pairs of 42. Finally, 6 times 7. Now look over here. Which is the one they have? Which is the greatest one? Well, they both have a 1. There's a 3 here. And it looks like 3. There's no 5 in 42. There's no 15. So it looks like 3. So 3 is the greatest common factor of 15 and 42. Okay, let's look at a second example. We'll take a look at 3 numbers. The GCF of, and my numbers are going to be 48, 18, and 30. What's the greatest common factor of 48, 18, 30? Okay, 48. 48's got a lot. Let's see, again, 1 and 48. Those are my smallest and my largest. 48's even. So 2 times 24. 4 plus 8 is 12, which is divisible by 3, so I know 3 works. It's 3 times, I think it's 16. Again, if you need a calculator. 48, 4 I know, because 4 times 12. Again, notice I'm getting closer. My factor pair 4, 12. 4 and 12 are getting closer. They're way closer to one another than 1 and 48 are. Not 5, because it doesn't end in a 0, 5. Oh, 6 times 8. I thought that one worked out pretty well. And of course, there's no 7. I can check 7 because that's the only whole number left between 6 and 8. So those are all my factors of 48. Let's look at 18. Again, factor pair, 1 times 18. 18 is even, factor pair, 2 times 9. Okay, does 3 work? Well, 1 plus 8 is 9. 9 is divisible by 3, so 18 is. And of course, it's 3 times 6, which you all know. I'm really close with 3 and 6. All I have left is 4 and 5. And 18 is not divisible by 4 or 5. Neither 4 or 5 is a factor. So I'm done. Those are my factors of 18. And finally, 30. 1 and 30. 30 is even, so another factor pair is 2 and 15. 3 goes into 30. I know it's 3 times 10. 4 does not go into 30. Let's see. That's another 5 works. It's 5 times 6, and that one kind of squeezed it in there. And of course, there's nothing between 5 and 6, so I've exhausted all of my factors. So these are my factors of 48, of which there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 factors of 48. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 factors of 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 factors of 30. What's my greatest common factor? Let's see here. 30, 18, nope. 9, nope. 15, I'm just going to look. 6, looks like it's 6. I see a 6 here, here, and here. 8 is not in greater. 12, no 16. Yep, looks like the greatest common factor is 6 of 48, 18, 30. Okay, hopefully you're asking, when do we use greatest common factors? Okay, so greatest common factors are useful. Make sure you can see my paper. Useful when simplifying fractions. Okay, so for example, let's take the fraction 16/24. We want to simplify it. Well, if we know that the greatest common, if we know they're both even, so we could do this. Divide by 2, divide by 2 over 2, which is 8/12. They're still both even. Divide by 2, numerator and denominator, which is the same thing as dividing by 1, so you're not changing the value of the fraction, which is 4/6. They're still even. So I'm going to divide numerator and denominator by 2 over 2 again, and I have 2/3. Or, if you understand how to find greatest common factors, you would say, wait a second, the number 8 goes into both of these. So the greatest common factor, 8, is the greatest common factor, and that allows you to simplify fractions quickly, or more quickly than you have if you go piece by piece, not knowing what the greatest common factor is. So that's one place where the greatest common factor is quite useful in mathematics. So there you have it, a brief lesson on how to find the greatest common factor of 2 or more numbers.